This is Chip Z'Nuff, and you're watching the Rock and Shock Show right here.
Hey, what's up, Rock and Shock Nation? Welcome to another edition of the original heavy metal and horror-themed hangout show. I really appreciate you guys joining me each and every week and supporting the show. Remember to visit us on the web at rockandshockshow.com. That's rockandshockshow.com, and become a member of the Rock and Shock Nation. Well, it's been a few weeks since I've had a guest on the program, and that's because I've kind of been under the weather. I shared that with you guys, but I'm actually feeling pretty good today. It was a rough few weeks, and I'm so glad to be past it. But on today's show, I have a great guest, a really good friend, someone who is an ambassador for rock and roll, one of the nicest guys you're ever going to meet. So let's start today with The Rock, and when you see this video, you're going to know exactly who I'm talking about.
Time is just a number that you can't replace. The catalyst to everything you've thrown it all out of phase. Slime is just a tattoo
All right, Rock and Shock Nation, I have a special guest today, our good friend Chip Z'Nuff. What's up, Chip? How are you, buddy?
Very good. Back here in Chicago, finally get a break after a long and illustrious tour that started on January 14th out in Florida, actually. Tom Kiefer's band. And finally back after all those festivals I've done, which is very challenging. I'll tell you that Rock Island Fest over in Key West, Florida was incredible. And then a month and a half over in England with my band, and then just got off the Trickster, Pretty Boy Floyd Band Inc. tour through here in the United States. So traveling around, probably did about 25,000 miles driving all around the country. And I'll get a chance to come back here and work on my new album, a brand new Enough Snuff album.
That's great. I'm excited to hear about that. Yeah, we've been texting back and forth, and I know you were out there with Glenn Hughes as well, which is pretty cool. How was that?
Oh, yeah, we went out with Glenn Hughes in February, all the way up until the Monsters of Rock cruise, which happens in March. And we did that with Glenn as well. And I'll tell you, wonderful pipes. He did it was 50 years of Deep Purple. So he's playing all those great songs from the past. He didn't mix any trapeze in there, which I was hoping to hear. And no Black Country Communion as well. But focused on the Deep Purple stuff, and there's plenty of material right there, a lot of fodder. So he sang his ass off every single night. I don't know how he does it. Guy's in his 70s, still chiseled, plays bass like one of the best guys out there, solid as a rock, and just a beautiful set of pipes. And he really enjoyed playing with Enough's Enough. He really took care of us on that whole tour. We hung out with him for quite a long time on that tour. I mostly spent time with him backstage because I'd have fans that wanted to meet him, and he was really accessible. He meets the fans, shakes hands, takes pictures, and he gives you a 2-hour show as well. And this band is on fire. It's a wonderful band.
Yeah, they're great. I got to meet him, man, it's like 3 years ago now when we were coming out of COVID. I was doing an event with Surf Radio, and he was with the Dead Daisies. So I got to meet him and Doug Aldridge. And like you said, very accessible, great guy. It's amazing what he can do at that age. He just is unstoppable. He really is.
We did that tour with the Dead Daisies last year as well. And that was great. And then he split. He wanted to do his own thing. I totally get it. He gave Dead Daisies, I think they did like 3 records in good 5 years of his life. And he says, I want to really focus on my earlier stuff in my whole career. And what he's doing now is incredible. Glenn Hughes out there doing all the bands he's played with. Hughes Thrall, Trapeze, the Deep Purple stuff, all the stuff he did with Tommy Bolin, which was great. I was a big Tommy Bolin fan. And Black Country Communion. He's going to mix it all in. He's going to do a big tour. It's coming up real soon. And I was hoping to get on that one, but we're jumping on the second leg of the successful tour we just did with Trickster and Pretty Boy Floyd. And now DeMalls has joined us. So that's a good 4-band package, and that starts off sometime in September, right when we get back from Japan.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, you're all over the place. I don't see how you do it. I know you put a lot of miles on the road, so that's pretty awesome, though. So tell me what you're doing now.
It's a blessing from above, Ray. It's a blessing from above. We've been doing this for quite a long time. And it's a lot of challenges out there. And those early tours that I did when we went out with bands like Poison and Def Leppard and worked with Cheap Trick, we really learned a lot from those cats. Badlands as well. Those early tours were really good for Enough Snuff and set the tone for us on what to do and what not to do.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, that's pretty awesome. I always want to ask you this. Back in like 1988, and I know this is going back a while, did you ever play with David Chastain?
We might have done some shows together and shared the stage. I was never in a band with him. During Enough's Enough, I also played with Missing Person. I was with them for about 6 years. And I gave about 8 or 9 years of my life to Steven Adler when I played in Adler's Appetite with Alex Grassi from Quiet Riot and Michael Thomas, who he was with Faster Pussycat at the time, and Steven, of course. And then we had a guy named Rick Stitch from Canada singing with us. And then when he split, we got the cat that sings now in a band called Sweet. He also plays in Butterside, too. His name is Patrick Stone. He's fabulous. So I've done a lot of different projects, also London Choir Boys as well, playing records with those cats. I've done a lot of stuff, but when you look on my Instagram or Twitter or Facebook, I don't really talk about them very often because I'm focused my attention on Enough Snuff. But man, I'm proud of my accomplishments and the things I've done with some of those great bands, and it's always nice to share the stage with cool cats, man, know what they're doing.
Yeah, I'm only asking you that because back in like '88, I remember going to Philly when the Philly scene was popping. And we saw Chastain, and I could have swore that Enough Snuff was the opening act for that tour. I always wanted to ask you that. So
Yeah, it might have been 89. I don't think it was 88. It was probably 89 if we did that, because that's when we were doing our debut record over at Royal Recorders in Lake Geneva with Skid Row. We were both recording our debuts at the same time. They would be in the studio in the daytime, and then would come in at nighttime, 2:00 in the morning. We'd take the studio over and work.
then that makes sense because I was graduating then, so that does make sense. Probably was '89.
Yeah.
So what's going on in Chicago now? I'm excited. I'm hearing that you guys are recording a new album. So tell us about that.
It's a good, really solid rock 10-song album, maybe 11 songs. And it's the difference of this record and the past records is I left in all the mistakes. It's a cool rock record. And while I'm doing that, and it's all day, really is. We've recorded the whole 11 songs in about a week, and then from there, we're doing some overdubs and stuff and tweaking things up and mixing it up. I'm happy about the record. I think people will be pleasantly surprised. It'll be our, I think, 20th album or 21st record, studio record. We've got like 25 records out now, so a lot of material. I tell you, it's unbelievable that we keep the pace up, but the fans want to hear new music, and that's very important. And we do it for ourselves as well, okay? I'm not going to fool you. At the end of the day, it's all about laying down some good songs and getting people excited about what the future holds. And let's keep rock and roll alive. And the only way to do it, you can't live on your past. You got to move on and put new stuff out every single year. And that's why you see all your favorite artists coming out with new records, because the fans want to hear the new stuff.
Yeah, we do. We definitely do. And, you said something that is so true. You said you kept the mistakes in there. And I have to say, today, bands try to be so polished and so perfect, and it kind of like leaves the soul out of the music. And when we did our EP, we try to be raw and heavy and not so over polished. That's what I get with Enough Snuff. It's sometimes it's raw, it's real, and that's what's really missing from today's music. That over polished stuff, I don't know. It just for me, I don't get it sometimes.
Well, I grew up listening to bands that played analog. They went in the studio and there was a 2-inch tape, and there was really no room for errors. You had to play well and have good performances. And we had our hands full in there. We would go in there and bash out those records live in the studio. And of course, we did minimal overdubs, but for the most part, we weren't passing tapes back and forth across the country. It was pretty much the guys in the same room together making a record. And if you can't do it like that, just do it yourself then. That's what I say. Lenny Kravitz does a great job as a solo artist, but he's got a band. And he plays all this stuff himself, and that works out well for him. For Enough Snuff, I think it's a contribution of putting all the players together and everybody getting a chance to lay down their parts and give it their own timbre. And that's what we do every single record. It's a consolidated effort, and the songs are written about everyday experiences that we went through, and perhaps you guys did as well. We're not writing about what we don't know about. And I think at the end of the day, it's a real record, and it's very transparent. And that's what makes me happy. We've always been the critics' darlings at the end of the day, where maybe that means lack of album sales, but who's buying records now anyway? Or it's Spotify, Deezer, and all the different social media. That's where people get their music, or listening to it on radio. And radio is not the same as it used to be, although my station, Monsters of Rock, is kicking ass, because the whole station's curated with nothing but rock stars. But for the most part, terrestrial radio, you're not going to get a real chance to get your stuff played, because we're at a time with too much product, not enough demand. So your best bet is just make records for yourself as an artist, do the best you can, come up with some killer songs, and perhaps there'll be somebody out there that hears it and goes, I can use this for a movie or a TV show or a soundtrack. And then, of course, you got to take it to the road. You got to go out and you got to play shows every single night. And that's what we do. I just played, that was 97 shows in 106 days. That's pretty good, bro. It's a lot of gigs. A little bit of a break right now. I think we're playing next week. We're in Duluth, Minnesota, at that big Bayfront festival they have every single year with Hairball. And those guys draw, man. It's going to be 8,000 people at this place. And then we jump back on the tour again, and we do Rocklahoma with Avenged Sevenfold and Evanescence and Disturbed, and that's a huge festival for us. Now we just jump on a plane and go right to Japan and get a chance to go play for our Japanese fans that we haven't seen in 15 years. Last time we were there was 2009. So it's nice to be able to go back to Japan again. I've always loved that country. I love everything about them. It's very westernized right now, but you go into the stores, there's a whole section of Enough's Enough in every single store. They really love American hard rock and heavy metal. If you catch their attention, you're pretty lucky. So we got a couple of big shows out there, and then right after that, I fly back and I jump on the second leg of the Trickster, Pretty Boy Floyd DeMaul's Enough's Enough tour. I think they're calling it the Remote Control Tour. And it's all MTV bands from back in the 80s and 90s when MTV was playing all those videos. And boy, I'll tell you, the last run for us was absolutely incredible. Trickster's on fire. Those guys are, PJ and of course, Steve, solid with Ben, a great drummer. They're a rock solid band. And they come out and they bring it every single night. And they give Enough's Enough a lot of leeway every single night too, as we get up there and we play our half hour, our 45-minute set of nothing but hits, hit after hit after hit. Fly Michelle, Baby Loves You, New Thing, and then some of the stuff off our Beatle record that we did, Hard Rock Night. A little help from my friends, and Magical Mystery Tour, and Jet off the McCartney record. And it's like the whole set's packed full of hit songs. You got to have a good time there.
Now, that's awesome. And I'm going to definitely have to catch you on that second leg when you're in the area. I definitely want to meet up with you. It's been a while, but I got to say this, and I was contemplating whether or not to say this to you, but I'm going to. It's been 3 years. I can't believe it. 3 years since we lost Beatle Bob. And I just want to put this out to the audience. I've known Chip for a number of years now. Amazing musician, amazing entertainer, but he's even a better friend and a person. And I want to put this out. Back in May of 2021, I was losing my uncle, going through a really hard time with his kidneys. And one day he called me when I was going down to Boca Raton. I was getting on a new station there. And he told me that, the doctor said no more dialysis. He had to go to hospice. And it's crazy because he was traveling in a car every day. And now the next day he's going to hospice. And you were there for all that. And Beatle Bob, the name tells you he loved the Beatles. And it was so amazing how you sent that video just telling him how much you appreciated him as a fan. And then you sent that Beatle, the stuff that you were doing when you did the Beatle Experience, all the songs. And that night, I have to tell you, he and I, we just watched those videos. We had so many awesome talks about the concerts we went to and, my time in Trenton and him as my baseball coach. And, the next day he passed away. But it was just amazing. And, I've thanked you before, but I want to thank you in front of the audience because they have to know that, you're not just an entertainer. You're not just someone that puts out CDs and makes music. You are such an amazing person. And you always have that special place in my heart for doing that because you were there during some pretty hard times. So just wanted to thank you for that because I really meant a lot.
Oh, Ray, you're welcome. Listen, it wasn't anything I did that was special. It was a great guy. We're both baseball fans. We love sports, both athletic, and very exciting to be able to talk to a guy who loves music and also loves sports. I'm a huge fan. Football, baseball, basketball, hockey, doesn't matter what it is. And then to know that he loved the Beatles as much as he did and all that memorabilia that he sent me with the records and the CDs, I'll keep that stuff forever. It's great memories right there. And the Beatles have left an indelible mark. They've sold over 500 million records around the country. There's a reason why those songs are timeless. I mean, it's just a fantastic band. And my heart goes out to you and to obviously to Uncle Bob. Wonderful guy. I'm glad I got a chance to spend a little bit of time with him, and may God bless him and his family, and you, Ray.
I appreciate it, Chip. And again, I just wanted to have you on tonight. You texted me the other day, said you were back in town, and I said, you know what? I got to have Chip on the show. A few months ago, we came onto this Classic Metal Show network. I spoke with Chris Atkin. I know you're very familiar with this channel, so I said I got to get Chip on and just touch base. And you and I still have to get together. We always talk about it, but we're going to plan some kind of a tour and get together. I want to get out there with you. I'm really excited about what we did with Ronnie Monroe. I thought it, kind of kicked ass. I thought it was pretty awesome, and I would love to. That's the one thing I want to do is I wanted to play a few shows with my buddy Chip Z'Nuff, so we got to make that happen one day.
Oh, absolutely. By the way, the Classic Metal Show is great. I love Neely. I go back with him. He comes out and sees enough snuff all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Chris is an old buddy of mine. I go back with him in the Howard Stern days, back in the late 80s, early 90s. Those are good friends, and they have a wonderful show, and they talk about a lot of different topics, and they're very, very astute and smart cats. So it's always nice to be in bed with good people like that. And Ray, we'll get together. Maybe we'll come through there early next year. I'm sure there'll be some Florida dates. We always come out and do 8 or 9 shows out there. Love to see you, my friend, and spend a little bit of time and go out and burn the candle at both ends and share a little bit of loudmouth soup.
There you go. I appreciate you, Chip. Thanks a lot. You are a great friend, and I really do appreciate you, buddy. And let's stay in touch. Anytime you want to come on and, share with the fans what you're doing, please do.
Thanks, Ray. I appreciate it. Listen, I'm off to the Rolling Stones. I'm going to see the Stones. They're playing Soldier Field tonight and Sunday, both 2 nights, 65,000 people. My old managers, they have a company called Nighthawk, and they're doing the production, the big screens behind the stage. So it's going to be a wonderful celebration. Seeing the Stones one more time. Got my backstage pass. I'll see you soon, my friend. God bless you and your family and all the listeners out there. May the best thing that happened to you last year be the worst thing that happens to you this year.
Bed last night on the way to paperback
I hope you guys enjoyed that interview with Chip Z'Nuff. He's such a chill dude, and I always love having him on the program. Can't wait for his new album. I'm sure once he gets out recorded, he'll be back on the program and we'll preview some of those tracks. Now, before I end today's show, just want to put this out there. I never want to take anyone or anything for granted. And as you get older, you tend to look back over your life. And I have to say, I've been very fortunate to have done the things that I really enjoyed. Ever since I was little, I had two passions. It was the combative arts and it was heavy metal. And I was really disciplined and just dedicated so much time to that. So when I get older, I was in my 20s, I got to wrestle for the NWA. And I loved wrestling when I was little. But I got to wrestle for the NWA under Dennis Carluzzo. And one time I went to West Virginia, and my gimmick was Officer Payne. And I had this badge that I actually had pierced in my chest. It was a real badge. And I would get on that top rope and pull it out, and the people just, they would go nuts over it. But I got to go to West Virginia with King Kong Bundy. I met Tommy Wildfire Rich, The Sheik, all these guys that I looked up to, Bob Backlund. We were doing an Eddie Gilbert tribute. And one thing I liked to do was I loved to do blood matches. So I would always, gig myself good and, blood matches, because that's what we used to love when we were little. But again, I was real fortunate to do those things and to meet so many awesome guys. And in rock and heavy metal, same thing. I got to play alongside of my heroes. Got to open up for a lot of great bands when I was younger. And now doing this show, to have relationships with people like Chip Z'Nuff. Again, guys that were my mentors, guys that I really looked up to. And, I want to take that for granted. And I want you to know I don't take any of you for granted. I really appreciate you guys supporting this show, hanging out with me each and every week. It does mean a lot. And one thing I want to do is build this show with all of you. So I encourage you to visit us on the web at rockandshockshow.com. Send me your email, send me your comments. And remember this, stay metal, stay horror, and I'll see you soon.
This concludes our broadcast day.